All right, guys, welcome back into another episode of To the Show Baseball Podcast, presented by Beyond the Monster. I am your host, Andrew Parker, and today's episode, I was joined by Red Sox pitching prospect Zach Bryant. If you don't know anything about Zach, he actually just recovered from Tommy John surgery, coming back into the season in 24, finished up the year in Portland, and had his first healthy offseason in a couple of years, and probably will be joining Portland's bullpen here to start 2025. So we kind of jump into what he kind of went through, going through the Tommy John surgery and everything that, goes about rehabbing and just being out of the game for so long like he was. And obviously it's big when a guy comes back after that much time off and being able to get back into the bullpen there in Portland, and the season was huge for him. So but before I keep rambling on, if you're watching me on YouTube right now, you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, please like, subscribe. Our YouTube channel. Would love to see some more subscriptions on that. Rate our Spotify and Apple Podcasts, please. Anything helps. It always helps us, and shows that I'm not just talking to nobody here. So, but without further ado, please enjoy the interview with Zach Bryant. All right, guys, I am joined by Red Sox pitching prospect Zach Bryant. The last time we had Zach on this show, he was actually still rehabbing from Tommy John. It's been that long, but Zach, you had a healthy offseason. We're kind of talking about it a little bit off air, but I want to ask you, how did you use your offseason? I guess what kind of things were you up to?
Mostly this offseason, man, I was focused on being and staying healthy. Because obviously being on the shelf for 13 months with the whole Tommy John process, or even longer than 13 months, going into this year, I just wanted to feel good, be healthy, and be ready to rock and put my best foot forward,
So for you, obviously, we had just talked about it. It was a healthy offseason for you, and you haven't had one of those in a while. What was one of the big differences that you did compared to what you were able to do? Obviously, recovering from TJ and being hurt in years prior. Like what big difference did you see about either results in the weight room or whatever it was? Like, what did you see?
So mostly my focus this offseason, like with health in mind, was I wasn't pushing myself too hard in the weight room. I would say I was trying to mostly maintain. Maybe get like a little bit of gains, here and there. But I feel like as far as like a development aspect, or like what's keeping me from being a big leaguer, I feel like strength really isn't the issue right now. So I didn't want, to strain my back or be too sore and have something happen during a bullpen, whatever. So I was mostly focusing on, moving well, maintaining my strength, and really gaining weight too. That was one of the big things this offseason. Got my body weight from like 197 to like 210. So I'm feeling a lot bigger, a lot more muscle on me, even though it wasn't going too crazy hard in the weight room. So yeah, I mean, that's something I'm excited to see how it translates. And as far as from a pitching standpoint, mostly just really trying to work on my command, because I feel like that's been my biggest downfall in the past.
And so, obviously, we talked about this as well before we started up, but velocity is king around baseball and around the organization and things like that. And you for yourself, and I'm sure each pitcher in the organization, especially around the minor leagues, has a program that the team will give you to work on for the offseason and things like that. So for you, was it something, I guess what the team gave you, was it something like, hey, we want to see more velocity. We want to see you utilize this pitch more. Like, what was it for you that the team said, hey, we want to see this for next season?
They added a changeup. So that'll be a new pitch this year. And it's actually really good. I'm excited to break it out. But as far as like the velocity stuff that they gave me, it was, they gave everybody like some pull downs and some plyo care and stuff like that. But I could imagine that, the focus for me at least, wasn't like arm strength. It was more like coming back from surgery. It was like retrain the CNS or share the CNS that it can move fast, and more so movement. Because I feel like that's one of the, again, like the lowest hanging fruit for me with velo is I have some movement like inefficiencies that I could definitely work on, and things like plyos and pull downs might help me like figure those inefficiencies out and help it translate to the mound.
Yeah, so you just mentioned that you're going to be debuting a new pitch this year in the changeup, and I don't know if this is totally accurate, but I know that at one point you were your bread and butter was your fastball slider combination. So I guess since you came back from surgery, like what's the arsenal look like now? Like what'd you finish off the year with last year in Portland?
Well, I finished off the year with four seam, sinker, cutter, slider, and then sweeper, and then now I'm gonna have the changeup to go with it. So a little extra weapon to hopefully handle lefties a little bit better.
Yeah, that's I feel like that's kind of interesting because you hear I know that we were just we've been hearing a lot about Richard Fitz and his ability to add that curveball that he added to get guys on the left side of the plate out. And for you, like with him having an issue, going into this season as like a big swing and miss was kind of his issue. For you, I don't think swing and miss has never really been your issue, especially in pro ball. I feel like you've kind of always had pretty decent strikeout numbers, at least in Portland in the time you've had there. So what kind of things going into 2025 are you looking to, be like, okay, like, I know you talked about the command. You're like, hey, maybe the walks have always been an issue for me. Or in some guys, it could be the swing and miss. Some guys, it could be velo, whatever it is. What kind of thing are you looking to really tackle this year, early in the season?
I would say still command. I'm not so much worried about the walks because my walk numbers, I mean, sure, they used to in like 2022 or 2021. That was definitely what hurt me the most was the walks. But now I'd say it's shifted from I'm not so worried about the walks as I am getting like ahead early. Because I know at least like from my most recent outing, the biggest issue that I ran into was, I try to be too fine with my 0-0 pitch, and then I go 1-0, and I try to be too fine with that. Well, okay, now I'm in a 2-0 hole. It's like I got to dig myself out of that. So now I'm just trying to throw a strike, and then I'm putting it middle, and they're teeing off. So I'd say my biggest focus this year is definitely attacking early and getting strike one, strike two, and then I can nitpick with looking for a strike three.
I want to talk about the return back to baseball. And, I think you getting back before the end of the season last year probably helped you out quite a bit. Just know that like, okay, like I came back, I did it. I got back on the mound, real games, not just hanging out down in the complex. And I know you were kind of itching to get back. I think last time I had you on, you're just like, listen, Fort Myers, great. It's a good spot to be, but you're ready to get back on the mound and get to an affiliate. And, it gets a little, it gets a little stale, I guess, being there for so long. So what did you learn about yourself once you came back to the mound? Did you have like a different appreciation for baseball? Like what was going through your mind once you did get back into the full swing of things?
100%. I had a new appreciation for it. I had never dealt with injury before, or at least anything that kept me out longer than 2 weeks. I had never had anything like that. So the return rates from Tommy John are higher than ever. It's almost like a sure thing. If someone's getting Tommy John, like they're going to be back. They're going to be the same guy that they were unless they just completely slack off for that entire time. So I knew it but even then it's like you still have in the back of your head, like, what if I'm not the same guy? What if I don't come back at all? Or like, you're 3 weeks into throwing and your arm's barking. It's like, well, what if I retore it? What if something else is going on? And then you get on the mound for the first time and then it's like, what if my arm can't handle this? You feel the soreness again. It's like, what if something's wrong? Like, you know what I mean? Dealing with all those things. But I would say once I was finally back out there, or at least up in Portland, I had the adrenaline flowing. I was throwing as hard as I was pre-surgery. Everything was back, and I had a really good outing. It was like, just like you said, like it was like, I did it. I'm back. I'm back, and I'm better. Like, let's go. I'm excited. And then it was definitely huge to have that experience before the end of the season. It was good to get in and finish the season like actually competing again.
I think something that it gets forgotten by a lot of fans is, that you guys as, baseball players and I think pitchers specifically are like real people. And whenever you guys have like, let's say an injury and have Tommy John surgery, you can't physically do your job for over a year, like a full straight year, more time than that as well. But like, you can't physically do what you are being paid to do and what you love to do for that long a time. And I feel like if you would compare that to, any normal person working a job, it's just like, yeah, you trying to not do something for a year and a half that you love doing and that you get paid to do. It's like, it's tough to do. And I feel like the mental side is something that doesn't really get talked about as much in regards to when guys undergo the Tommy John surgery. It's like, it's kind of tough mentally on you guys. I've had Taylor Broadway on here a couple times, and he's kind of talked about his battles with like, hey, it sucks at times. Like it doesn't seem like it's all sunshine and rainbows all the times. It's not. So for you, did you have like any issues, I guess, in regard to, just battling the mental side of like, okay, like I know the lights at the end of the tunnel. I just need to get there. Like, did you have anything like that while you were recovering?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Broadway. He was like just getting started with his rehab process when I was like finishing up mine in Fort Myers, and we were actually roommates for a little bit. And just like how he said he had some tough times, I definitely did have some tough times. I had to take a couple mental health days from the field, but I remember talking to him about it, and he was asking me, he was like, is like, did you have this? And I told him like, absolutely, I did. And once I was past that kind of rut I was in, I was able to like look at it for what it was, and it makes total sense. We devote our entire lives. It's more than just a job. It's not like we're going in from, in season 2 o'clock, we go and play a game, we leave, we go home, like whatever. Like on paper, it looks like we do that, but we're also devoting every waking moment into, whether it's not training or performing, we're cooking. You know what I mean? We're doing like we have to eat healthy. Everything we do goes into goes into baseball. So like when you have an injury and for the first 10 weeks of post-op, you can't work out. Like for me, that was a pretty big deal. I couldn't work out, I couldn't throw, I couldn't go fishing, I couldn't golf, I couldn't. What the hell can I do? You know what I mean? So it's like you put anybody in that situation, like where their whole identity and anything they like to do is taken away for a certain amount of time. And me and my situation at that time, I was at the team hotel. So it's like, I'm just sitting there and I have nothing else to do but play video games. That'd be depressing for anybody. So it's the mental side of injuries and stuff like that it's hard to deal with. And it's definitely real. 100%.
And something that you guys did down at the complex that I found fascinating was all of the games and I guess like team outings that you guys, the Hurt Squad, did down there, like whether it be the opposite hand bowling league, if it was the I think you guys, what was it, a mini Masters? I forgot what you guys were calling it. The yeah, the putt putt. I have talked to a few other guys in like, let's say like the Tigers system, Minnesota, like a few others. And I'm just in some guys that had TJ, and I'm just like, oh yeah, like I know the guys in the Red Sox camp are doing like, an offhanded bowling league, a putt putt tournament, things like that. You guys had like a newsletter that would go out, things like that. And they all were just like, whoa, they did that. Like we didn't do anything like that at our camp. That sounds like a really good idea. So who is creative enough to think about that?
I would say the ringleader for what was going on there was Wyatt Mills. Him and Chris Murphy. And Broadway was kind of in the mix too. But I'd say if I had to pick one, Wyatt Mills was definitely the head honcho when it came to like getting everyone together.
I'm gonna say, man, that's impressive because, like I said, I've talked to some other Hurt guys around other organizations. They're like, I wish we would have done that. So, kudos to Wyatt Mills, Murphy, whoever, Broadway. That's I don't know, incredible stuff out of them. But all right, let's jump to obviously the season at hand. We're past the middle of March. We're almost towards the end of March now. You're going to probably be heading out to affiliate, I would assume, in 10 or so days, if I had to guess. It's sneaking up quick. So for you this season, I don't know, I can't remember if you were like a goals guy, whether it's like statistical goals, weight goals, like anything. I don't know what it is, but for you to have a successful 2025, what does that look like for you?
I want to put together my best season that I've ever had in pro ball. I would say if I had to put like a numerical goal on it If I had to quantify it, I would say sub 2 ERA would be the goal, because I need to put up numbers. Whether I'm in Portland and I need to get to Worcester, I got to put up numbers. If I'm in Worcester and I want to go to Boston, I got to put up numbers, and it's a contract year. So it's like, if I want to have a job after this season, I got to put up numbers. So that's my biggest goal for this year, is to just show out and put my best self out there.
So obviously you're using the contract year as a big motivator, for you, obviously putting up numbers to try to, like you said, have a job next year. I wanted to ask too, I've seen a lot of new pitchers in the organization, whether it's, drafting 15 guys last year in the draft, or, they made a ton of free agent signings or Rule 5 picks, whatever it was. There's a lot of new faces, specifically pitchers in the organization. Does that drive you at all, just knowing, like, I took a peek at Portland's starting rotation, for example, and I think all 5 guys that are projected to be starting in Portland's rotation are just, they're dudes. They're good pitchers out there. And Greenville's loaded with them now. Like, you got Salem with all the new draft guys. So it's a lot of guys coming up behind you. Does that motivate you as well?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, like, knowing that there's guys that are there's always, and that's how pro ball is. There's always guys searching for your job, and the organizations are always looking for guys to replace you. It's nothing against you, and me feeling pressured by the guys behind me. It's like, that's nothing against them. It's just the nature of the business. They're looking to improve, and everyone is. Everyone wants to move up. I want to move up, but that doesn't mean I want someone in Worcester to get released or something. I don't want that at all. I want everyone to keep playing, but it's, no matter what, everyone wants to perform, whether it's the Red Sox or any of the young guys or any of the old guys. Everyone wants to do good, move up, and progress. That's just the nature of the business.
I have a teammate question for you here, and it's for 2 teammates that you shared a bullpen with last year. And I've always wanted to ask this question to somebody, and I probably should have by now, but I haven't. But you have 2 of the more interesting minds in, I think, the entire Red Sox organization that you shared a bullpen with once you came back last year. The first mind is CT, and the next one is our guy Chooch. So I am curious, what are conversations like during games with guys like those 2, and I guess just even the group as a whole?
Dude, the spectrum of conversations that we have in the bullpen, it's crazy. We talk about everything, and there's never a boring day down there at all. It's I mean, CT is always good for a couple laughs. He's a clown. He's hilarious. Same with Chooch. And definitely having those 2 guys down there, it's never boring, and the vibes are always up. If you're spending time with them. I believe it. It's awesome.
I just I was kind of thinking about it. I've spent a lot of time around the Worcester team the last couple of years, and I'm just like, okay, there's a guy that was a staple in that Worcester bullpen the last couple of years, Chase Sugar. And he was the guy that would always keep it super light. And, Sugar's just one of the best guys around baseball, in my opinion. But he's always the guy that's kind of keeping things loose. He's, that guy in the clubhouse that he's always got, a smile on his face. He's always in a good mood. He's never really down. And I feel like that's Chooch. I mean, I know that, the Portland bullpen last year, you guys kind of saw a lot of new faces, and guys would be in and out, obviously up and down from Worcester or Greenville, whatever it was. But I feel like you guys never ran out of things to talk about. I don't think I would run out of things to talk about with those 2 in the bullpen. So incredible guys to have probably in a bullpen for you guys.
Oh yeah. We talk about it all the time. I mean, that had to be an all-time bullpen, just for, the vibes and the chemistry that we had down there. I mean, it's, like I said, it was never boring. It was always a blast up there, and it definitely keeps baseball fun when you go to the field every day and you're watching great baseball and you get to have good conversations in the midst of it. It makes for a good time.
So I know that you probably didn't get to play or pitch in front of these guys too much last year, or even at all. But, if you're in the Red Sox organization, about, the big 3 guys. Obviously about Marcelo. A lot about Roman Anthony being the number 1 prospect in baseball, and obviously Christian Campbell on his rise. I don't think you really got to pitch too much in front of those guys. So I'm actually going to ask you about two other guys that you got to share a locker room with this past year. One is Mikey Romero, and another one is Justin Garcia. Two guys that have kind of exploded onto the map this spring. What did you what did you find out about them pitching in front of them last year and kind of seeing them take off a little bit in the second half?
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Garcia, he got moved up kind of later in my stint up in Portland.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see him too much, but even before like Mikey got moved. I mean, truthfully with Garcia, I remember seeing a bunch about him when he was in Greenville, like, obviously scrolling on social media and whatnot. But as far as like playing with him, it doesn't seem like I spent that much time with him, but even like Mikey before his time in Portland, like I spent a lot of time with him down in Fort Myers because he had some back stuff while I was going through my elbow stuff. So we spent quite a bit of time together, and it was I mean, I love the dude. He's awesome. He even though he's a younger guy, he still found ways to help me. And him and Brooks Brandon, they both helped me with like my faith and helped me find God and get closer with him. And so like if you have that with somebody, it's like I feel a little bit closer to both of those guys because of that. They helped like push me in the right direction and in my time of need of like when I was going through like my mental struggles and whatnot. So yeah, I'm pretty close with both of those guys.
I will say something I was impressed about. I remember being down on the field in New Hampshire towards the end of the year, and I believe you were there in New Hampshire towards the end of the year. But it was a Sunday, and that was one of the biggest crowds. I've been to a few Sunday games around Worcester and Portland and New Hampshire. Some of those teams around there, and you guys had the biggest crowd for Sunday Chapel that I saw, I think, in any minor league baseball game I've ever seen. The amount, I think almost half the roster was out there. I feel like you usually don't see that big of a crowd. So I thought that was kind of cool. I noticed that. I'm like, this is, I saw you guys all, I was sitting in the dugout and everybody just kind of came out. I'm just like, what's happening? Are you guys having like a team meeting? It's like, no, it's Chapel. It's like, oh, half the squad's out here right now. So impressive stuff there in Portland when I was seeing it. So that was kind of cool.
Cool too, because especially on some Sundays when we didn't have an actual preacher there to come with us, we had one of our coaches, Sasala. He would be out there and he would kind of take the place of like the preacher, and it would turn into just kind of like a discussion, and he would ask us, any of us if we wanted to speak at it, and it wasn't like on the spot, like we're all together, and he's like, ZB, do you want to speak? It was like he'd ask us privately, and he's like, if there's something you ever want to share, if you want to this Sunday, he's like, just let me know, and then we can get that going. So he would ask you like in private, and it was really cool to kind of like get everyone included. And obviously everyone there is for like, the same reason. So it's easy to speak in that kind of setting, like everyone's there supporting, like no one's judging. It's all love in that little circle, So yeah, no, definitely like the Sunday chapel that we had was a pretty special thing for sure.
Yeah, I was impressed. I mean, it's like I said, it stuck with me. Like I remembered it because I didn't see that very like as much in Worcester and a few other places. So kudos to you guys. That was cool. I got one more question left for you before I let you slide here. I know I asked you about, goals. I know you want to put up some numbers this year. I know, everything that you're kind of looking forward to doing in 25, but let's just say this question here is for the fans out there, the Red Sox fans that don't really know much about you. Maybe they've never seen you pitch before. Maybe they haven't really heard your name before. Or maybe they saw you in spring training backing up some games. They're like, okay, that's the first time I've ever really seen Zach Bryant on a pitching mound. So my question for you is, this season, what are people going to see from Zach Bryant? Like, what are you going to bring to the mound that I guess will stick with fans? Like, what's going to separate you this year from other guys?
Intensity.
Love that.
If I had to pick one word, intensity. I want to bring intensity and consistency.
Can't really argue with that. Were you the guy last year that did you have something interesting with your delivery?
Like a change?
Are you a guy, isn't your delivery one where you're like, aren't you almost touching the ground?
I do. I have a little bit of like a Kimbrel-esque, like when I'm getting my sign.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's like, position from the stretch for sure.
That's it. Okay. Every time when I saw that, I remember watching you pitch in New Hampshire towards the end of the year, and I saw the arm, I think, dangling a little bit. I'm just like, this guy is letting it hang out here.
Like,
I think
degrees, I just let it hang, but I do get pretty low.
I love that. Yeah, you were pretty much like almost touching the ground. I think I remember putting that on my Instagram story or something. I was like, this guy's literally touching the ground. So that intensity, man.
No. When I was in Greenville, one of our old players, Jacob Wallace, he kind of did the same thing. He would dangle his arm pretty low. So I think it was when we were playing in Hickory, and Hickory's a fun place to play because the fans there, man, they chirp and they don't they don't take it easy on you. But I think they were getting at both of us for doing that. I think like for me, they were saying like, "Oh, this guy wants to be Kimbrel" or something like that, and then Wally, they were like, "You're gonna have to wipe off your knuckles off the ground. You got dirt on them and stuff like that." They were chirping. It was pretty funny. But
yeah,
it's something that I don't know when it started, when I started doing that, but it stuck, and I like it. I feel comfortable getting my sign that way, and it makes me feel like intense.
Well, I think you kind of nailed it because you said what you wanted to bring this year, intensity, and I feel like I don't know why I remember that too. You like sitting there like kind of arm dangling, like very Kimbrel-esque. It's like, hey, I'm getting my sign right now, and I'm gonna throw this past you. I love it, man. But Zach, always appreciate chatting it up, and obviously looking forward to a healthy and successful 2025 for you. But thank you so much for hopping on.
Of course, man. It was a pleasure.